ransomware detection and recovery.
Now, obviously, with 4,000 new ransomware attacks launching every single day, the hackers are evolving and they're getting rich at your expense. Now, backups are a big help, but if you can't get up and running quickly enough, you might just be better off paying the ransom. Now, you have to employ fast recovery techniques. That's important, but you also need to reduce the time that it takes to find a good backup, because recovering to a backup that's infected with ransomware increases downtime and adds more work for you. Now, Unitrends can help. With built-in ransomware detection, machine learning and predictive analytics allow you to understand as fast as possible when a machine was infected. This lets you know when your last good backup occurred to reduce the need for a lengthy post-recovery cleanup process. Now, to take it 10 steps further, Unitrends Recovery Assurance can actually assess other aspects of recoverability as well and proactively tell you the impact of the outage for both planning and compliance purposes. So let's check it out. So here I am looking at my dashboard. Notice this cool recovery assurance tile that we talked about. This actually allows for automated testing and analytics to be run against your machines to understand the recoverability as well as the impact of downtime, right? How much data am I going to lose and how much time am I going to be down? And I can actually click in and drill in and see from one of these dashboards that I actually have an RPO that's been measured for this particular machine to be about 3 hours and 26 minutes. This is what my data protection policy is allowing for. That's how much data I'll lose over a course of time. I'll lose about 3.5 hours. Now, if I have an outage, I'll also see here that my recovery times, because these have been tested and analyzed, are very, very short, only a few minutes to be up and running. So good information to have when it comes to managing any outage, but with ransomware, as prevalent as it is, great to have this information up front proactively. So going back to my dashboard, notice when we take a look at one of the alerts, obviously you always want to see what alerts are showing. Notice we were infected by ransomware. This was a simulated attack that happened earlier, and we have a predictive analytics engine that will actually show you what systems were infected. And I'm going to pick this MSFS01 system for the rest of this demo. But it'll also tell me when the alert was risen and the last time we detected an issue that was an anomaly that said basically we think there's something wrong with this machine, could be ransomware, go check it. We go and verify it and see that it is. So at 10:21 p.m. on June 1st, we had an infection. So we need to recover at this point. Now, what most people will say is go to your most recent backup. Now, if I go to my Recover tab, I like to filter these things pretty quickly just to get through this larger environment. And notice I have some granular file level backups. I'm going to ignore those because I was due to ransomware and I just want to back this whole machine up very quickly to an earlier point in time. Now, I have a backup here at 10:14 p.m. Well, while most people will say, hey, why don't you just go and recover to your latest backup? Well, the reality is because we were able to detect that ransomware was prevalent in this particular machine, it actually happened during this backup. This is potentially a bad backup, right? So when you go and validate that there is ransomware on that machine, you know that this isn't what you want to recover to. Now, because there could be anomalies that could throw us off a little bit, and maybe there is good data on this machine or it hasn't been impacted by ransomware, then we obviously don't mark this as bad. We don't delete it. We let it be there for you to use if you need it. But I went and validated that I had ransomware in this machine. I want to go to my prior backup before that. Now, before I do that, other things can impact recoverability. I want to know if this backup is good. So my 7 p.m. backup is the one that I think I want to recover to. I'm going to run a quick report on my backup history. Again, I like to just filter things to get to that particular machine. And notice that I have this really cool certify status. I've actually certified that recoverability is successful for my backups that occurred prior to that 10:14 backup time where we discovered ransomware was infected the machine. So at 7 p.m., that's my last good backup. We're feeling pretty good about that now. It's time to recover. So back to my Recover tab. Let me go to my VM backup for MSFS01. I'm going to go to my 7 p.m. backup, and I'm going to execute instant recovery. Put it in audit mode here because we're doing a simulated test, and I'll spin this up in my bye-bye ransomware resource pool. Pick a data store to migrate this machine to when it's up and running. And there you go. Recovery is now being kicked off. This machine is spinning up within the VMware environment. And what we actually do during this recovery process is we will emulate an NFS data store, attach it to VMware, and expose the backup data to VMware and spin this machine up quickly without having to move any data. That's how we actually come up and running and make the machine available as fast as possible. Now, at this point, we're making several API calls into the environment, and other things can be happening here as well. What we're going to do here is give it a little time. It takes we saw about 3 or 4 minutes in the prior testing. And here we can see my MSFS01 restore is now happening within my bye-bye ransomware resource pool. Take a look at this machine as it's coming up. You can see here that it is starting, which is great. And if I open up this particular console, saw it was booting up at that point. Now at this point, the operating system and VMware are all working together to bring this machine up with Unitrends Instant Recovery. And we'll be able to log on in a second. And here we go. We're up and running. In just a couple of minutes, I was able to defeat ransomware and help my business and my company get back to normal operation without this being a big outage. So I hope you enjoyed the video and you had the opportunity to learn something here. And by all means, please try this out for yourself at unitrends.com.